Hey guys, today we're going to read Beowulf. We're going to start at the beginning and read the first few pages so that you can be introduced to the Danes and Hrothgar and then Beowulf. So we start off with the Danes. If you've watched my introduction video, then you've seen King Hrothgar and the Danes in their mead hall Harrod. So we're going to start there. If you will just read along with me, you're going to use this video and you'll find the link to the reading here in the assignment. You can use that to answer the questions. As you can see on this side of the text, it is not something that we can really understand. I can see the word Beowulf there, but there's a lot that we won't understand. So you're only going to read the right-hand side. We're going to start in the PDF on page 17. That's when the actual reading starts. All right. So the Spear Danes in days gone by and the kings who ruled them had courage and greatness. We have heard of those princes' heroic campaigns. Now, I need you to remember that epic stories have to do with values that are important to the culture. And in these, in the Anglo-Saxon time period, courage and greatness were extremely important for soldiers. So there was a shield Shafson, scourge of many tribes, a wreckler of mead benches, rampaging among foes. This terror of the hall troops had come far, a foundling to start with. He would flourish later on as his powers waxed and his worth was proved. In the end, each clan on the outlying coast beyond the Well Road had to yield to him and begin to pay tribute. That was one good king. Okay, I don't know what this means. Do you know what this means? Actually, I do. So they're talking about the fighting that would happen between different tribes of people and who would end up being the victor. All right. So afterwards, a boy child was born to the shield. All right. This boy child is going to be Hrothgar. This guy up here was his dad. All right. A cub in the yard, a comfort sent by God to that nation. He knew that they had told the long times and troubles they had come through without a leader. So the Lord of life, the glorious Almighty, made this man renowned. Shield had fathered a famous son. Beow's name was known through the north. And a young prince must be prudent like that, giving freely while his father lives, so that afterward in age, when fighting starts, steadfast companions will stand by him and hold the line. Behavior that's admired is the path to power among people everywhere. This right here is like a moral of the story. Behavior that is admired, and it has to do with him being brave and courageous. So courageous and brave that people would follow him. Shield was still thriving when his time came and he crossed over into the Lord's keeping. His warriors' band did what he bade them. When he laid down the law among the Danes, they shouldered him out to sea. This is talking about King Hrothgar's dad. He died. Okay, so this is the funeral rites rituals that they do whenever their heroes or their great leaders pass away. They shouldered him out to the sea's flood, the chief they revered who had long ruled them. A ring-whirled prow rode in the harbor, ice-clad, outbound, a craft for a prince. The ring-whirled prow, that's talking about the boat. This is a kenning right here. Okay. They pushed it out into the harbor, and it was outfitted with riches for him to take with him to the next life. Okay. They stretched their beloved Lord in his boat, laid out by the mast, amidships, the great ring giver. Far-fetched treasures were piled upon him, and precious gear. I never heard before of a ship so well furbished with battle tackle, bladed weapons, coats of mail. This has to do with like shields and the armor that they wear. The massed treasures was loaded on top of him. It would travel far out into the ocean's sway. They decked his body no less bountifully with offerings than those first ones did who cast him away when he was a child and launched him alone out over the waves. And they set a gold standard up high above his head and let him drift to wind and tide, bewailing him and mourning their loss. No man can tell, no wise man in hall or weathered veteran knows for certain who salvaged that load. All right, let's look at this. Okay, so great leader has died. The way that they honor him is to take a ship and to lay him out on the ship, um, and to cover him in riches and gold and treasure and armor. Like his armor would go with him. So whatever he wore to battle, his shield, his coat of mail, his sword, all of those things would go with him into the next life. And then they would push it out. And most of the time they would set fire to the ship and watch it burn as it goes out into the ocean. Okay. So then it fell to Beowulf to keep the forts. He was well regarded and ruled the Danes for a long time after his father took leave of his life on earth. And then his heir, the half Dane, held sway for as long as he lived, their elder and warlord. He was 4 times a father, this fighter prince. One by one they entered the world. Hrothgar, the good Helga and daughter I have heard, who was only as queen, a balm in bed to the battle-scarred Swede. Okay, the fortunes of war favored Hrothgar. Now we're going to learn about Hrothgar as a king, and why he was good. The part before is telling about his legacy, his heritage. Now we're focusing on Hrothgar. Friends and kinsmen flocked to his ranks, young followers, a force that grew to be a mighty army. So his mind turned to hall building. He handed down orders for men to work on a great mead hall, meant to be a wonder of the world forever. It would be his throne room, and there he would dispense his God-given goods to young and old, but not the common land or people's lives. Far and wide through the world I have heard orders for work to adorn that wallstead were sent to many peoples, and soon it stood there, finished and ready, in full view, the Hall of Halls. Okay, so he's had all of this glorious victory in battle, as you saw on the opening scenes of Beowulf, and now he has ordered for this great mead hall to be built, and he names it Heorot. Heorot was the name, here we go again, he had settled on, whose utterance was law, nor did he I can't say that word, renege, but doled out rings and torques at the table. The hall towered, its gables wide and high, and awaiting a barbarous burning. That doom abided, but in time it would come. The killer instinct unleashed among in-laws, the blood lust rampant. Okay, so this hall is like a hall unlike any other. It's magnificent, it's majestic. It's so ornate and detailed that everybody thinks that it's the best they've ever seen. But then comes this bloodlust. All right, you're going to meet the demon Grendel. Then a powerful demon, a prowler through the dark, nursed a hard grievance. Grievance? What does grievance mean? Grievance means I hold something against you, and I'm going to take vengeance out on you because of it. All right. It harrowed him to hear the din of the loud banquet every day in the hall, the harp being struck, and the clear song of a skilled poet telling with mastery of man's beginning, how the Almighty had made the earth a gleaming plain girdled with waters. In his splendor he set the sun and the moon to be earth's lamplight, lanterns for men, and filled the broad lamp of the world with branches and leaves, and quickened life in every other thing that moved. Now, I told you in the opening video that throughout Beowulf, you're going to see a mixture of pagan beliefs and Christian beliefs. Okay, so you've got this demon, Grendel, and he has something against Hrothgar and his people. He cannot stand that every day there's music in the hall, there's laughter, there's joking. If you remember the opening scene of Beowulf, they're loud and rambunctious and they're drunk and they're having a great time. Well, that bothers Grendel because he's like a demon and he's cast out. He can't be a part of things. And so it gets under his skin that these people are so happy. He can't stand to hear the scop or the poet talk about how God made the earth and that these people are reaping all the benefits that God created while he can't have any of it. That's what this paragraph right here is saying. Okay, so times were pleasant for the people there until finally one, a fiend out of hell, that's Grendel, began to work his evil in the world. Grendel was the name of this grim demon haunting the marches, marauding round the heath and the desolate fens. He had dwelt for a time in misery among the banished monsters, Cain's clan, whom the Creator had outlawed and condemned as outcasts. If you remember or have any knowledge of the Bible, in the Bible, it talks about Cain and Abel and how they were Adam and Eve's children. And God favored Abel and thought that he was a good son. And Cain was jealous. And so he killed Abel for it. So because he killed Abel and committed a sin, Cain got cast out of the Garden of Eden. And he got cast out, and he was always going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, guys. He would have a curse upon his name and upon the names of every generation after him that came in his line. So this is the curse of Cain. And this section right here is telling you that Grendel comes through the family of Cain. So Grendel is cursed like Cain is cursed. Okay, sorry. For the killing of Abel, the eternal Lord had exacted a price. Cain got no good from committing that murder because the Almighty made him an anathema. And out of the curse of his exile there sprang orcs and elves and evil phantoms and giants too, who strove with God time and again until he gave them their reward. Okay, so again, he's a descendant of Cain and he's cursed. And so he's not happy that they're happy. So after nightfall, Grendel set out for the lofty house to see how the Ringdanes were settling in to it after their drink. And there he came upon them, a company of the best, like the best men, the thanes of Hrothgar, asleep from their feasting, insensible to pain and human sorrow. So they're drunk. Suddenly, then, the god-cursed brute, that's Grendel, was creating havoc. Greedy and grim, he grabbed 30 men from their resting place and rushed to his lair, flushed up and inflamed from the raid, blundering back with the butchered corpses. Okay, so he takes his vengeance out on Hrothgar's men. They're drunk, passed out from having a good time, and he comes in, swoops up 30 men. That's how big he is, how big his arms are, and he takes them to his cave, to his lair where he lives, and they're all dead. He's going to go and he's going to feast on them. That's his revenge for them being happy and having a good time. All right, so then as dawn brightened and the day broke, Grendel's powers of destruction were plain. So they woke up and they're like, oh my gosh, and they see all this destruction. They see that the men have been killed and taken. Their wassail was over. They wept to heaven and mourned under mourning. Their mighty prince, the storied leader, that's Hrothgar, sat stricken and helpless, humiliated by the loss of his guard, bewildered and stunned, staring aghast, that's a vocabulary word, at the demon's trail in deep distress. He was numb with grief, but got no respite, for one night later, merciless Grendel struck again with more gruesome murders. Malignant, that's another word, by nature, he never showed remorse. It was easy then to meet with a man shifting himself to a safer distance, to bed with the bodies, for who could be blind to the evidence of his eyes, the obviousness of that hall watcher's hate? Whoever escaped kept a weathered eye open and moved away. So Grendel ruled in defiance of right, one against all, until the greatest house in the world stood empty. That's that's Harrod, the mead hall that Hrothgar has built. All right, until the greatest house in the world stood empty, a deserted wallstead, for 12 winters. That's 12 years. Seasons of woe. The Lord of the Shieldings, Hrothgar, suffered under his load of sorrow, and so, before long, the news was known all over the world. Sad lays were sung about the beset king, the vicious raids and ravages of Grendel, his long relenting feud, nothing but war, how he would never parley or make peace with any Dane, nor stop his death-dealing, nor pay the death price, nor no counselor could ever expect fair reparation from those rabid hands. Okay, so he's saying, or they start telling the story of Grendel and how Grendel comes every single night to Hrothgar's mead hall and attacks his men. And like it's a curse upon Hrothgar and his people. And it happens for 12 years. And Grendel shows no remorse. He doesn't let up. He continues to do this every night. Come on, go up. All right, all were endangered. Young and old were hunted down by that dark death shadow, Grendel, who lurked and swooped in the long nights on the misty moors. Nobody knows where these reavers from hell roam on their errands. So Grendel waged his lonely war, inflicting constant cruelties on the people, atrocious hurt. He took over Heorot, haunted the glittering hall after dark. But the throne itself, the treasure seat, he was kept from approaching. He was the Lord's outcast. Okay, this is important because it's telling you that Hrothgar is protected by God. Okay, so Grendel, because he's an outcast and he's cursed, he cannot touch Hrothgar. All right, it says, but the throne itself, the treasure seat, he was kept from approaching. So you learn that the Lord is protecting Hrothgar, but he doesn't protect Hrothgar's people. And so Hrothgar becomes helpless. He can't defend himself because while he's protected, his men are not. And no matter what they do, every night after they get drunk and fall asleep, Grendel comes and attacks them, kills them, and continues to wreak havoc. All right, these were hard times, heartbreaking for the Prince of the Shieldings. Powerful counselors, the highest in the land, would lend advice, plotting how best the bold defenders might resist and beat off sudden attacks. Sometimes at pagan shrines they vowed offerings to idols, swore oaths that the killer of souls might come to their aid and save the people. All right, here again you see the mixture of the pagan beliefs with the Christian. Right here, Hrothgar is protected because Grendel is the Lord's outcast, and here you see that the counselors to Hrothgar are giving offerings to idols, pagan gods, and praying to the gods that the killer of souls might come to their aid and save the people. That was their way, their heathenism and heathenish hope. Deep in their hearts, they remembered hell. The Almighty Judge of good deeds, back to Christian beliefs, of good deeds and bad, the Lord God, head of the heavens and high king of the world, was unknown to them. Oh, cursed is he who in time of trouble has to thrust his soul in the fire's embrace. Forfeiting help, he has nowhere to turn. Hrothgar has nowhere to turn. But blessed is he who after death can approach the Lord and find friendship in the Father's embrace. This again, if you remember that it was probably a Christian monk that wrote this story down, this is him putting in like Christian themes and morals of the story for the readers. Okay. So it's like a side note. So that troubled time continued, woe that never stopped, steady affliction for Halfdane's son, too hard an ordeal. There was panic after dark. People endured raids in the night, riven by the terror. So Grendel only comes at night. When he heard, okay, at this point, you're going to learn about Beowulf. And I'm going to make this into another video so that it's not so long. (17 to 23)